Hey, I'm really glad you're here. And I don't mean that in the thanks for signing up kind of way. I mean, I see the kind of decision it takes to say, okay, I'm ready to stop hiding. I'm ready to figure this camera thing out, and I'm ready to show up. Because this isn't just about gear or content. It's about identity. It's about that moment that you realize, if I want to lead, I can't keep avoiding being seen. So if you're here, I already know two things about you. You care about showing up with integrity, and you're willing to take ownership of your message, even if when it terrifies you. Now, let me say this up front. You don't need to be perfect. You just need a better foundation. And that's what we're building today. Most people think that fear means they're not cut out for this, that maybe they're not naturally confident, not charismatic, not built for the spotlight. But that's not true. What you're feeling isn't a flaw, it's a signal. It's your brain saying, whoa, this feels risky, because being seen is risky. Saying what you really think out loud and on camera can feel extremely vulnerable. So your brain does what it's wired to do. It hesitates, it overthinks, and it pulls you back to safety. And that's not weakness, that's biology. But here's the good news. That hesitation, it's not a dead end. It's just a starting point. Most people try to solve camera fear by rehearsing. They write long scripts, memorize every word, and they try to perform their message. And that works until it doesn't. Because here's what happens. They sound robotic. They lose their place. They get thrown off. And then the doubt rushes back in. This is what I call the rehearsal versus real trap. They're rehearsing confidence instead of building it. But here's the truth. Confidence doesn't come from rehearsing lines. It comes from speaking from alignment and doing it consistently. And that's what the trust lens is here to help you build. Let's talk about gear. Because look, let's be honest. For a lot of us, I don't have the right setup is just fear in disguise. You don't need studio lights. You don't need a mic that costs $600. You don't need 10 different camera angles. If your phone records in HD, you're good. If you got a window and a lamp, you're set. If you have a mic that costs $30, you've got more than enough. You don't need better gear, you need less distraction. Remove the excuse, because gear isn't what builds presence. Clarity does. What you need more than confidence is a system that keeps you showing up, even when you feel awkward. Even when that voice in your head says, this isn't good enough. The trust lens method is that system. Each letter represents a principle that builds real presence, clear messaging, and emotional connection. It's how I help people go from, I hate how I look on camera, to, this finally feels like me. So let's zoom out for a second. Everyone's creating content right now, right? The creator economy is worth over $191 billion in 2025. And there are more than 207 million creators worldwide. But here's what most people don't talk about. The average income of those creators is just $44,000 a year. And only 4% ever break six figures. So if you've ever felt overwhelmed, invisible, or stuck in where do I even start, you're not alone. And more importantly, you're not behind. Whether you're a creator who wants to feel confident on camera, or an entrepreneur who wants to grow your business with content that builds real trust. The problem isn't that you don't have a message. It's that you've never had a system that makes showing up actually feel doable. And I know that feeling because I've lived it. You see, I've been coaching people for decades. I knew how to lead in person, but when it came to showing up on camera, I froze. I overscripted everything, and I deleted more videos than I posted. I wasn't building confidence, I was performing it. That's why I created the framework that you're about to learn. The trust lens was built to solve this exact problem. How do I build clarity, confidence, and consistency without burning out or faking it? This isn't about hacks. This isn't about hype. It's about learning how to speak from truth, build confidence through safe, consistent reps, and show up with structure, not performance. And earn trust online, in your business, and through your brand. If you're here, it's because you care about how you show up. You want your content to reflect who you really are, not just how you're supposed to look, or sound, or sell. This course will help you do exactly that. Because whether you're creating for impact or income, confidence is the doorway. And this is your starting point. You don't need to become someone else. You just need someone to walk with you as you become more of who you already are on camera, in your content, and in your business. And here's your reflection prompt before we move on. What fear or story has kept you from showing up fully? Write it down. We all have one. Speak it out loud if you need to. This is not a weakness. That's a rep. You're not behind. You're not too late. You're just building. And building takes practice. Truth. Let's start with something I see almost every day. Just be authentic. It's one of the most overused and underexplained pieces of advice out there. You've heard it. You've probably even tried to follow it. But if we're being honest, most people are still left thinking, okay, but what does that actually mean for me and on camera? This isn't about being raw. It's not about trauma dumping. It's definitely not about realness for views. This is about something deeper, something way more powerful, alignment. When your story, your voice, and your delivery all come from the same place, that's when people lean in. That's when you stop second guessing yourself. And that's when trust starts to build for them and for you. So if you freeze when you hit record, if you stumble through your intro, if your tone shifts the moment the red light turns on, you're not broken. What you feel is just a gap between who you are and who you think you need to be, between what you feel and what you're trying to perform. The bigger the gap, the more friction you feel. So in this module, we're going to close that gap gently, honestly, and with intention. Let me introduce you to a tool that I use with almost every coaching client. It's called the Trust Mirror. And here's the question it starts with. What have you lived through, figured out, or overcome that you can now guide someone else through? That's your truth. That's your message. And that is your anchor. And let's clear something up right now. You don't have to share your deepest wounds online. You don't have to go make your brand a personal diary. Truth doesn't equal exposure. The goal isn't to speak from your pain. It's to speak from your earned experience. So here's a quick self-check before sharing. First, have I processed this enough to speak about it calmly? Is this helpful to others or just cathartic for me? Does this story support what I'm teaching? If the answer is yes, then share it. If not, save it. It's okay. Your job isn't to impress or confess. Let me say that again. Your job isn't to impress or confess. Your job is to guide. Now, if you're thinking, but Chad, I don't have a story. You do. You just haven't learned how to recognize that your lived experience is valuable just yet. But you will. So let's simplify. I want you to think about a time you felt stuck and what helped you move. A moment that shifted your belief. A mistake that you made and what it taught you. These are stories. They don't have to be epic. They just have to be earned. Because chances are someone else is living that story right now, and they're waiting for someone like you to help them see the next step. So here's your coaching challenge before Module 2. Pick one story from your life. Write it down in this format. I used to blank, but then I learned blank, and now I blank. Keep it under 90 seconds. Say it out loud, no script, no pressure. You don't have to sound polished. You just have to sound like you. That's what people trust. Next up, we're moving into reps, where you're going to learn to turn clarity into consistency. But before we go, I want to say this. Your voice isn't missing. It's just waiting for a safer path to come through. You're doing this, so let's keep going. Reps. Let's clear something up real quick. Confidence doesn't show up first. It shows up after. And if you've been waiting to feel confident before you hit record, that might be the very thing that's holding you back. Confidence isn't a feeling that you have. It's a result that you built, one rep at a time. And that's what this module is going to be all about. Think of confidence like a muscle. You don't go to the gym once and walk out strong. You show up, you sweat, you struggle, and you adapt. Same thing here. You're not building performance habits. You're building presence. And presence comes from rhythm, not rehearsing. Now, if the word reps makes you think of hustle culture or burnout, I get it. But let's redefine it. Reps aren't about perfection. Reps are about familiarity. The more often you see yourself speak from alignment, even if awkwardly, the more you start to trust your own voice. And here's the tool that I use with every client that I coach, the 10-minute confidence loop. This is how I personally overcame that awkward phase and how I coach people through it, even if they never recorded a video before. Here's how it works. Step 1 takes 3 minutes. Write down one belief or a tip, just a sentence, not a script. Step 2 is 5 minutes. Record yourself saying it. Use your phone, no fancy setup, just press record. Step 3, take 2 minutes and watch it back. Not to critique, just notice. I want you to ask yourself, was I rushing it? Did it feel like me? And what sounded clear and what didn't? That's one rep. Repeat that loop 3 times this week, and I promise something will shift. Now, let me say this directly. You don't need to post everything you record, but you do need to record. Why? Because the confidence isn't in the post, it's in the practice. The more you show up in low pressure moments, the easier it gets to show up when it matters. And if you feel awkward while filming, good. That means you're in the rep. That means you're training the muscle. This isn't about going viral. It's about becoming someone who's not afraid to be seen. And that changes everything. So here's your challenge for this module. Complete 3 reps this week using the 10-minute confidence loop. Just one idea, one video, one reflection. You don't need to get it right. You just need to keep showing up, because confidence doesn't reward talent. It rewards consistency. You're doing this. Even if your voice shakes, even if the lighting's off, even if it feels clunky, that's not failure, that's training. And the more reps that you build, the more natural this becomes. Next up, we're going to shift from repetition to resonance. In Module 3, I'm going to show you how to stand out without being louder. Let me give it to you straight. You don't need to be louder to stand out. You don't have to be the funniest, the boldest, or the most extreme version of yourself. You just need to be the clearest and the most consistent expression of who you already are. Because when your message actually sounds like you become magnetic without even trying. But here's the problem that most people run into. They try to create a brand by looking outward, copying trends, mimicking tone, trying to sound like them. But here's what I want you to remember. You don't need to be louder, you need to be truer. Your voice doesn't get lost because it's weak. It gets lost because it's trying to sound like someone else. And the moment you stop doing that, you start standing out without shouting. Let me give you a tool that I call message mining. This is how we uncover the voice that's already inside of you without starting from scratch. I want you to ask yourself, what do I rant about in my industry? What do people always ask me to explain? And what do I wish more people understood? That's your content voice. That's your fire. That's where your brand starts to breathe. Now, let's go a step further with the U framework. This is how we clarify your uniqueness without overcomplicating it. Y is your lens. How do you naturally see the world? O is own stories. What lived experiences shaped your beliefs? U is unfiltered values. What do you stand for, both on and off camera? When these 3 align, your brand becomes more than content. It becomes recognizable. Now, let's talk about storytelling for a second. I know that storytelling can sound vague, so here are 3 simple patterns that I coach clients to use all the time. First, I used to blank, but then blank. It shows transformation. Second, most people think blank, but actually blank. That reframes common assumptions. And third, let me tell you a quick story. It builds trust really fast. You don't need to be a natural storyteller. You just need to start noticing the stories that you've already lived. Now, maybe you're thinking, but Chad, I'm not interesting enough. But I don't have a niche story. But Chad, I'm just me. Let me tell you something. I've seen this over and over again. The people who think they have nothing to say usually end up being the ones that others can relate to the most. Not because they're flashy, but because they're real. So don't wait to be more interesting. Start by being more honest. Now here's your challenge for this module. Write down 3 core beliefs that you hold. Then choose one, and then match it with a personal story that proves it. Then format it like this: belief, quick story or moment, and what that story taught you. Speak it loud, under 90 seconds, no script, no pressure. This isn't a performance, it's a practice. You're already interesting enough. You're already credible enough. You're already you, and that's the point. You're not trying to be the loudest in the room. You're trying to be the clearest in your lane. And once you build that clarity, you won't have to chase attention because it's going to come to you. In the next module, I'm really excited about this. We'll take this voice you've been building and give it some structure. We all love structure, right? So you can stop scripting and start showing up naturally, on repeat. By now, you started finding your voice. You faced the fear, you practiced your reps, and you started sharing stories and the beliefs that actually feel like you. Now the question is, how do I do this consistently without sounding scripted? Or even freezing every time I hit record? Because if you're like most people that I coach, this is where things get clunky. You got great ideas. You just can't seem to say them on camera the way they sound in your head. Sound familiar? That's what happened to me. Let's fix that. Here's what most people try to do. They write a perfect script. They memorize it word for word. Then they hit record. And then suddenly, it all sounds flat, robotic, or even worse, totally unnatural. So they freeze, or they overthink, or scrap the whole thing. Here's why that happens. You're prioritizing control over connection. Scripts feel safe, but they can choke out your real voice. That's why we're going to shift from scripting to structuring. Now, I want to be transparent about something real quick, because it's important to me that I model what I teach. Yes, you're watching me on camera, and yes, this is scripted. But scripting isn't bad. I still script a good bit of my videos, like the ones in this course. Because when I'm teaching, I want to make sure I hit every point in the way I intend. These aren't robotic. They're written in my voice, so I can still sound like me, all while making sure I don't miss anything that matters. The goal isn't to eliminate scripting. It's to stop hiding behind that script and to learn when structure actually gives you more freedom, not less. So think of your structure as your on-camera compass. You're not memorizing, you're organizing. Just like you wouldn't write a full script for a coffee shop conversation with a friend. You don't need one to speak on camera either. You need just enough clarity to stay grounded without losing your natural rhythm. Now let's walk through the 3 types of content that builds trust. First, authority content. Teach what you've learned from experience. This sounds like, here's something I didn't understand until I lived it. Second, authenticity content. Share what's real, not raw. This sounds like, here's a story I almost didn't tell, but I'm glad I did. Third is action content. Give a simple step forward. This is going to sound like, here's one small thing you can try today. Rotate these, mix them up. This variety keeps your brand consistent and human. Now, here are 3 simple frameworks that you can plug into any idea. First, the belief flip. Most people think X, but here's the truth. Second, the micro win. If you're stuck with X, here's what helped me shift. And third, moment, meaning, move. Let me tell you a quick story. Here's what it taught me, and here's what I do now. These don't just make your message clear, they make it repeatable. And that's how trust is built, through rhythm, not randomness. Here's your coaching challenge. Film 3 short videos this week. 1 teaching post, 1 story-driven post, and 1 quick tip. Don't write a full script, just jot bullet points. Speak like you're talking to one person who needs what you have to say. And one more thing. If you mess up, ramble, restart, or even feel awkward, remember, that's not failure, that's practice. This isn't about being perfect on camera. It's about becoming comfortable in your own voice. And structure gives you the freedom to do just that. In the next module, we're going to tie everything together. So you're just not clear and confident, but trusted. Let's build a brand people actually believe in. This is where everything comes together. All the clarity you've gained, all the reps you've built, all of the alignment that you've uncovered in your message. Now it's time to anchor it into something lasting, because this is what turns content into a brand. So let's start here. Trust doesn't come from charisma. It comes from consistency. And you've probably seen this play out. There are people online with tons of talent, but no traction. They post once, then disappear. They show up strong and then vanish when life gets hard. And then there are others who may not be the flashiest, but you remember them. Why? Because they say things that matter. They show up regularly, and they sound like themselves every single time. And that's what we're building for you. Here's how I teach it. It's called the trust loop. It's how you create repeatable, high-trust content without sounding repetitive. Step 1, speak your truth. Say something that your audience feels but hasn't been able to say themselves. Step 2, show a story. Validate that truth with a moment or a lesson from your life or work. Step 3, solve a problem. Offer a simple shift, tool, or action they can take today. You don't need to wow people. Just meet them and move them forward. That's what builds emotional resonance. Let's break it down some more. Speaking the truth creates resonance. Your audience says, yes, that's exactly it. Showing a story creates credibility. You're not preaching, you're guiding from experience. And solving a problem creates momentum. You help them take one clear next step. And when you repeat this rhythm over time, people don't just trust your content, they start trusting you. Now, let's talk about something tricky: social proof. Most people either avoid sharing results out of fear of sounding salesy, or overhype themselves and lose trust. Here's how it works. Share wins that validate your process, not inflate your ego. For example, instead of, I helped this client 10x their results, try, we simplified their message and suddenly people started listening. You make the client the hero. You're the guide. Positioning yourself this way earns respect, not just attention. Let's also zoom in on that word guide. You're not the hero of your brand. Your audience is. Your job is to say, I've been where you are. I know how that fear feels. And here's the path that I took and how you can walk it too. That shift from hero to guide is how you build a brand that lasts. And honestly, it's what makes you someone that people can trust long after the scroll. For more, I would check out Donald Miller's Story Brand because that changed my life. Your coaching challenge: choose one belief you hold, run it through the trust loop, speak the belief, tell a story that proves it, solve a real problem that your audience faces. That's one post, one video, one piece of brand trust built on purpose. Repeat that loop again and again, and your audience will never have to guess who you are and what you stand for. You've done the work, you've faced the discomfort, you've built the reps, and you found your message. Now it's time to keep showing up with presence, not performance. You don't need to chase attention. Just keep earning trust one message at a time. And by now you've done the inner work. You've found your voice. You've built your confidence. You've learned how to deliver your message with clarity and presence. And now the question is, how do I keep this going, all without burning out or starting from scratch every week? That's what we're solving today. Here's the pattern I see all the time. You finally post something that feels good. Maybe you even got great feedback, but then the pressure hits again. What do I say next? Should I be on every platform? Am I supposed to create new content every single day? That thinking leads to inconsistency or exhaustion. And the truth is, you don't need more content. You need more traction from the content you're already creating. And that's where the creator flywheel comes in. It's a simple system that helps you take one message and turn it into 5 pieces of content that connect, educate, and build trust. Here's how it works. Choose one belief or truth that you stand for. Then break it into 5 types of content. Your message. What do you believe? A story. What moment or lesson shaped that belief? A tip. What practical advice supports that belief? a myth, what common misunderstanding needs to be challenged? And a CTA or a call to action, what next step can your audience take? That's your week. No overwhelm, no overthinking. Let's walk through an example. Say your core belief is confidence doesn't come from performance. It comes from clarity. Here's how you build your flywheel. Your message post is confidence isn't about faking it. It's about alignment. A story post. I once recorded a video 12 times and I still hated it. Here's what changed. Your tip post. Here's a 10-minute loop that I used to practice without pressure. A myth post is most people think you need to look polished to be confident. That's backwards. Your call to action. Want to stop performing and start connecting? Book a breakthrough session. Same belief, 5 different angles, 5 days of content that build clarity and trust. Now, let's take it further with the content layers. This is where your message really gains traction. And you don't need to create anything new. Record a talking head video, turn the key points into a carousel, pull a quote for a graphic, share the story in an email, and clip the video into a reel. One message, multiple formats, consistent presence, all without reinventing the wheel. Now here's your weekly workflow. On Monday, choose your core belief. Tuesday, share a story around it. Wednesday, film a quick video. Thursday, create a graphic or carousel. On Friday, send it out as an email or a CTA. This is how you build a digital reputation, not just a feed full of random content. Your coaching challenge, pick one belief this week. Run it through the flywheel. Message, story, tip, myth, CTA. Then pick one piece of that and post it. You don't need to post all 5 just yet. Start with the wheel. And if you're feeling overwhelmed, remember, you're not behind, you're not bad at content, you're just building rhythm. And rhythm builds trust. You've done the hard work. Now it's how to make it sustainable. Let's keep building what you started. One thing I want you to remember, when creating content, legacy outlasts applause. So go impact someone's life in a positive way today.